Hello and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. I'm Steve Smith, your host, and there are a few things changing and being updated, and I'm looking forward to bringing to you as part of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast moving forward. And the first one is we have a new partner involved, and that is none other than Australian Turf Analysis. This is episode number 31. A quick intro to today's episode of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast is the return of the segment Keeper of the Greens, and I'm really excited to bring this one to you. It is with Superintendent Paul McLean of Sanctuary Cove Golf and Country Club in Queensland on the Gold Coast. But first, I can say this officially, a message from our partners. Keeper of the Greens is brought to you by Australian Turf Analysis. As a greenkeeper, as a golf course superintendent, I know that when it comes to agronomy, our industry has always been using tools at the forefront of science and technology. And the latest in that technology comes to you from Australian Turf Analysis and their multi-spectral lens drone. With a drone flight over your course, Australian Turf Analysis can show you what is happening all before it's visible to the trained eye of a greenkeeper. The multispectral lens, along with intelligent software, measures turf stress and correlates all of the data for you in a very easy-to-read graphic map along with other formats available. Now, you might think that some of the latest scientific tools like this are a bit pricey, but I can assure you that once you get a quote to survey your course, you will be searching for reasons why you shouldn't use this technology to help you maintain your golf course. It really is actually that affordable, I'm here to tell you. Now, John Legg at Australian Turf Analysis is your certified and fully insured drone pilot to make sure all of those paperwork bases are covered so you don't have to worry no matter where you are anywhere in Australia. Now, for the good part, for any new first-time customers of Australian Turf Analysis, they are offering a 10% discount on your first service if you mention the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. So head over to australianturfanalysis.com to get in touch with John for a quote to survey your golf course. Something you should do, and thanks to Australian Turf Analysis for being a partner of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. Let's get stuck into Keeper of the Greens. Ladies and gentlemen, we come once again to a segment that I'm growing to love more and more, and I think from the feedback, everyone's really starting to enjoy as I travel around and talk to many and very different people in the industry of greenkeeping. And we come to the Sunshine State. We're going to go north to Queensland from where I am in New South Wales, where I've got on the line Superintendent of Sanctuary Cove Golf Club in Paul McLean. G'day, Paul. Welcome along to Keeper of the Greens and the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast.
G'day, Steve. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. Now, we've got you in the afternoon here. You've had a couple of quiet ones on a beautiful sunny afternoon. We've got a couple away.
Mate, it's Friday. That's what you do on a Friday. You just got to reward yourself.
I love it, mate. It's the best way to end a week, having a couple of quiet and having a couple of cold ones. On the back of that, I want to start off with a bit of fun that I always do, and that's a Super 7 question. So before we start chatting away about a bit of your life and your greenkeeping career and where you are now, let's start off with a bit of fun, and we'll call it the Super 7. 7 quick-fire responses from 7 quick questions. You ready to roll?
Fire, son. Give me 7.
All right, let's go. Sunrise or sunset?
Definitely sunrise.
It's good to see. As long as you're up early when you're working on a golf course, I think that's an important thing.
Yeah.
Important thing. Now, course appearance questions: stripes or no stripes on fairways?
I'm a massive stripe fan. Massive.
I'm starting to hear that this is a bit of a real 50-50, and I didn't know it was so much because I sort of went to more stripes in the latter part of my career, but now I'm away from it. Everyone's got a different opinion, and I really like the answers. So you're a stripes fan. All right, so we know what we're going to find up at Sanctuary Cove, which is good. Yes. Preferred look of a golf course, lean or lush?
Lush, definitely lush. I'm a big fan of the green grass, white sand, heaps of stripes, very American orientated.
Very good, very good. High quality presentation, very in your eyes and very upfront. We love that. We love to see it.
Yep.
Now, a favourite greens surface, and I'm talking grass varieties here. So it's bent, cooch, or something else. And if it's that something else, I need you to name it.
Okay, so I think bent grass is still the best, but a oversowed cooch is pretty nice as well.
Wow. Okay. What was that, Poa? Which one?
So Poa trivialis.
Poa trivialis. Okay. Right. So Cooch over. I've not heard that. Where would that have been at?
Anywhere in the transition zone. I had it at Century Cove for the last before I rebuilt the greens, but I've played it on the Tiff Eagle and 3-8 with Poa Triv Overside, which is in any of the transition zones, a lot like the Gold Coast or in Florida as well.
Okay. So okay. So that's sort of subtropical. Yeah, like you talked about. For us, it's the sort of southern ends of Queensland before you get right up into the tropics of the north. I take it is what you mean.
Exactly. You do it down to Coffs Harbour, I suppose.
Yeah, wow. Okay, there you go. I didn't know that one. That's an interesting combo. I like to hear it. This is what we're all about, learning a bit more as well. Good to see.
Absolutely.
Number 5, mate. Where do you prefer to maintain a golf course? Cool climate or warm climate?
Warm climate's much easier than the cool climate, because cool climates, you have a hot summer, you've got cool season grasses, and you struggle all through the summer. Where on the warm season, it grows all the time. You've got 12 months of growing season.
It's nice and consistent, mate. And we'll get into a bit of your career and your time as a greenkeeper, because I know you've done both. So we'll get onto that a little bit later. But good answer. Good to hear that you like the warm stuff. Number 6. Now, this one I like to hear. This one's one of my personal favourites because I'm a big bunker fan. So, favourite bunker style: St Andrews, Kingston Heath, or Augusta National?
Probably the Heath, because the Heath's got a combination of a sharp edge on one side, and then got the natural growth, or the heathland, that comes in on the rough side. So generally the green side is nice and sharp and clean along the edge, and then on the rough side they dabble some native grasses into it. So definitely the Heath. They
do it very well down there. It's very unique, very Australian, and I think it's a fantastic look. I think that will be, from a lot of the Australian greenkeepers that I'll chat to. I'm sure that's going to be a favour as we continue to chat to people. Now, the final question: if you could visit any golf course anywhere in the world, one golf course anywhere in the world tomorrow, which one would it be?
Oh, without a doubt, it's got to be Augusta. I'd love to go there. That'll tick the box of all boxes, and I can die a happy man.
Very much at the top of many a greenkeeper's bucket list, and any golf fan in general. So from a golf fan's perspective, we know that that's always a big one, and good to see that those that look after the courses, it's just as high on the list. So good stuff, mate. Great answers, good quick responses, and very good. Thanks for doing the Super 7, mate. It's always a bit of fun.
Yeah,
always a bit of fun.
Good stuff, mate. Well done.
Now, okay, this is it. We're talking to Paul McLean, Superintendent, up on the Gold Coast, which is where Sanctuary Cove is. If anyone's not too sure, that's where you're at the moment. But you did have a beginning to your greenkeeping career, and there's many facets to a lot of people's careers. And let's start at the beginning for you, Paul. Let's hear about where you began your greenkeeping career, and sort of let's talk about that journey you've had to where you are today.
Yep, no worries. So I was very fortunate enough to grow up in a golfing or sporting family in country New South Wales, in a little country town called Orange in New South Wales. There's about 40,000 people in Orange, but they're a very sports-orientated community. So we played rugby league and golf, and we managed to play them in both winter and summer. I started my career at a place called Wentworth Golf Club in Orange. There's 3 golf courses in Orange: Wentworth Golf Club, Dunshully Golf Club, and ex-servicemen's club.
In actual fact, mate, that is not too long ago recently closed down Orange ex-services. So for a long time there was 3, but now there is 2.
Yeah, right. Okay. Oh, that's news to me. And it was just a great sporting community. So I lived up the road from Wentworth, ride my bike down to play golf there, and that's where I started my apprenticeship.
Unreal.
Yeah.
So for you got into greenkeeping because you played a bit of golf, and this is where I'm learning from some people, and it's certainly good to talk about how greenkeeping, how you get into the trade, is you were playing golf, like you said, in throughout the year and from time to time, and that's sort of how you got your start. And why Wentworth? Was it that there was an opportunity there at Wentworth as opposed to the other courses, or you're just close to it?
No, it's a good story. I was close to it. We played there all the time. In the country or in New South Wales, you did work experience in year 10. So I wanted to be a sparky. So I went to to one of the places it's called email, so where they make the fridges for Westinghouse.
Oh,
so
wow.
I pick a electrician. I get posted at email for 2 weeks, and I turn up on the Monday, and my two electricians that I had to annoy or follow around for 2 weeks were footy players. I was 16; they were maybe in their mid-20s, and they had a big weekend on the booze, and we sat on the roof of the bloody of email for all day. They read the paper, ate pies, and drank coffee, and I was like, "Oh, this is not fancy." So I thought, "Oh, well, it might be better the next day." Next day rolls around. We did a couple of walks around the shed, and they sat on the roof again, reading the paper, eating pies. And I went home and I said to Dad, "I've had a gut for this. I can't do that." And he said, "Well, maybe there's something going on in the golf club." And I said, "Oh, well, that'd be good fun." So we toddled down to the golf club on the Wednesday morning, and they had just started course renovations, so greens renovations in the country. And the Pat Coit, who was the superintendent at the time at Wentworth Golf Club, said, "Well, you can come down and I'll teach you how to core greens, and you can sit on the back of the Core Master 12 and drive it around and for us, because no one wants to do it. It's too boring." So I core greens, and that was in the late of that year, and I didn't go back to school the next year. I started an apprenticeship at Wentworth in the February of the following year. So
wow, so that was it. I mean, you're showing your age a little bit talking about the Core Master machine.
I started my apprenticeship in what did I start my apprenticeship in? 1986.
Yeah, right. Okay, wow. That they would have been very different to a modern renovation machine. There's no doubt about that.
Footy shorts and a singlet.
We'll keep that on the quiet, mate. No one's listening.
No, I hope not.
We won't talk about those things that happened back in the day, but that was it. So really, I love hearing about these stories as well. Like, not only how casual and more casual a workplace was, I suppose, in a sense, and these days we talk about safety very often and very regularly, but it wasn't about that for you. It was just getting that start. You didn't like the electrical side of, well, there probably wasn't really any electrical work going on by the sounds of it. And you I suppose you had that background taste of golf. So you kind of had an idea playing it, what was going on, and it was certainly more in depth about how a course was prepared, really, I suppose.
I mowed the parents' lawn every weekend, that kind of stuff. So I liked mowing grass. It was kind of a thing, I liked doing it. I'd mow neighbours' lawns and things like that to get some pocket money. So, yeah, I liked doing it. So that wasn't a problem. And then playing golf, just like a natural progression, I suppose.
Yeah, well, and yeah, absolutely. So that really good to see that initial start into it, and Wentworth being your home, course where you did your apprenticeship. Did you complete your trade there at Wentworth?
Yeah. So it was a 4-year apprenticeship, 3 years at TAFE, block release, and then it was the final year was they called it practical. So you got your you passed TAFE, and then the last year you got your trade certificate, which were two different things. So just like a chippy or a sparky or whatever, you were regarded as a trades qualified greenkeeper.
Yeah, yep. And then, like you said, and that final year was the prac year until you would then be a qualified tradesperson. So,
correct.
Okay, and that was your completion at Wentworth. And Wentworth's a great country golf course. I've played it, been fortunate to play a couple of times. And, mate, it's really good that Orange, and you talked about Orange being a sporting area, regional part of New South Wales. It really does have a lot of that sporting part, those sporting parts to it, and golf is a big one. And I love country golf. There's nothing more enjoyable for me, as much as it's nice to go to the resort courses or the private courses around the country in the capital cities. Country golf, I don't know. I just find it really enjoyable. The space, the quietness, and probably for me, it's a bit of a lack of background noise from the busy city life. I just love that space and that feel. So I'm a big fan of it out there, and I know Orange well, and it's nice to hear that you come up through that regional environment in greenkeeping in your early steps. So tell us a bit more from Orange. Did you do any more time past your completion of your trade at Orange, and where did you go to after that?
Yeah, well, there's a great grounding in Orange facilities there, because Dunchley's nice, and then so is Wentworth. There's plenty of good sportsmen that come out of Orange, so it was a good place to when I finished apprenticeship, they had that a system where they just rolled their apprentices over. I got a job on the council doing the cricket wickets.
Okay, so you stepped away from golf now.
I didn't want to. Just that there was no work. So I played footy with the town clerk son. So the town clerk of Orange at the stage, his name was Max Boss. Played with his son Stephen, and I went down to see Maxie, and he said, "I can get you a job on the Parks and Gardens," and I said, "Oh, that'll do." And they said, "We need a guy doing the cricket ovals to mow them, and then we'll teach you how to do the cricket pitches." And I said, "Oh, well, that'll do me." So I spent 2 years doing cricket pitches on 6 ovals during the summer, and then in the winter you just basically mowed the rest of the grounds, etc. So that was different. It was the council. It was good fun. The boys. I knew the boys from playing footy and all that kind of stuff. So it was a good fun time for a couple of years. From there, I wanted to get back into I suppose greenkeeping as such, and there was a job going at a place called Millthorpe just outside of Orange, between Orange and Blaney.
Yep, it's a small town, Millthorpe.
Yeah, and it had a 2-green bowling green, and one of the boys, again, one of my footy mates, said, "There's a job going at Millthorpe at the Bowls Club," and I said, "Oh, I don't know anything about bowls," and then he went, "Don't worry about it." He was looking after Newstead Bowls Club in Orange, and he said, "I'll teach you how to do it. Come and spend a month with me, then you can go out to Millthorpe."
Wow.
So I did. So I quit the council, worked with Mick Radnich for a month, and then I went out and mowed and rolled and worked for Millthorpe Bowls Club. It was a great little gig. It was 20 minutes from Orange. Come and go as you please, and it was great fun.
That's really cool. But again, another step sideways, and these are the many facets of greenkeeping. I suppose you can turf maintenance in different sporting arenas. So and Millthorpe's a lovely little village, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's very trendy now.
Super trendy. I don't know if it's. It really is quite popular. It's funny how that happens, strangely enough.
Oh, when I was there, it wasn't quite popular because it just had a couple of pubs and that was about it, and the bowlo. And we didn't open every day. We only opened for bowls on whatever days it was. So that was pretty funny. And while I was there, one of the members of Blaney Golf Club and said, "Oh, we're looking for a greenkeeper." So I said, "Well, look, I owe these blokes a bit of a, they helped me." And they said, "Why don't you do it both?" So I did Blaney Golf Club, 9 holes, and Millthorpe.
That's the 9-holer, yeah.
So I did 9 holes of golf and then 2 bowling greens. And I was like, well, I would have been one of the first contractors going around in New South Wales. So I got an ABN and I subcontract to Blaney and Millthorpe, and I put an apprentice on.
Wow.
So I used to go through to Millthorpe, mow the greens, get them ready for the bowls, and then we'd shoot off to Blaney or vice versa, depending on what comp days it was. And then, and that's how it worked. And I was quite comfortable doing that. But I always had I always wanted to move to Queensland. It was something I wanted to do as a kid. Wanted to move to Queensland, particularly the Gold Coast, and work on a resort golf course. That was my career goal, to work on a resort golf course on the Gold Coast.
So that was your sort of dream as you were growing up and getting older, and that was where you saw yourself later in life. Because to just explain to people that don't know Central New South Wales, we mentioned Orange. Millthorpe is just it's like we said, it's a trendy little village now, but we're still in the sort of central west, in the colder sort of western reaches of the ranges, the Great Dividing Range, and it's cold winters and the minuses, and Blaney's a little 9-hole country golf course. Lovely areas, but we're not talking, and you do get reasonably warm summers, but this is far from a lovely tropical warm environment, isn't it? It's
freezing, absolutely freezing cold. Tops are 2 and 3, like it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and you get those cold southwesterlies come through. Anyway, we could talk about it for a long time, but it is far from Queensland where you are now. So you did that time contracting, as you said. You would have been one of the first greenkeeping contractors, I've got no doubts, back then. And how long did you do that gig for with the 2 bowling golf for that period?
Again, for another couple of years. So I would have been at for they combined the two, about 4, only a couple of years at Blaney, going at Lakelands Golf Club. We came up to watch the State of Origin at Lang Park with my brothers and got on the booze, and there was a job going at Lakelands Golf Club, and Steve Marsden, who was the superintendent at that stage, it was still under construction. It was in 1995.
So this is the Nicholas course, the Jack Nicholas course on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
He said, "Why don't you come in for an interview?" And I said, "Well, I'm up there watching the State of Origin." And he said, "Why don't you come down on the Thursday morning?" Now, as you know, Wednesday is the State of Origin. It's not a good time for an interview on a Thursday morning.
It's far from a good time to be alive on Thursday morning.
What do they say? Far from ideal. So I got in a mate's car. I drove down to Lakelands, and Steve showed me around, and they were still building the place. And he said, "Well, I can't guarantee anything, but when we start doing grassing, etc., I'll give you a call." So toddled off back to Orange, killed my hills at Blaney and Millthorpe for a little while, and then, sure to his word, Steve gave me a call in October of the same year and said, would like a job as I call it a growing assistant, which is level 1 shit kicker basically. And I said, okay, no problem. I had Katie would only be my eldest daughter, was only a couple of years old, and just built a new house. And the wife came home from work, and I said, I'm going to move to Queensland. We're going to sell the house and pack up and move to Queensland. I've got a job at Lakelands Golf Club. And,
wow!
So I started in October 1995.
And that was that sort of a life opportunity? You just gone, finally, I can see myself up here. This is what I've wanted. I really want to crack at it, and let's make the move as a family. Was that a really big thing for you to finally be able to have that opportunity?
Mate, it was ticking another goal. You know, we talked about Augusta earlier. It was ticking a big box. I wouldn't say that the family were that keen to go because it's and grandparents, etc. But we made the move, and I lived on the Goldie while we were selling the house in Orange for a little while, and the family moved up later in the next year, and I suppose not the rest is history. I stayed at Lakelands for a little while, met Jack Nicholas on a couple of site visits.
Wow, that's impressive.
Cool.
That's very impressive.
I wouldn't have thought I would ever say that, but I met Jack on in November of that year.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, family moved up. We opened later on in the following year, and at that time, they had a superintendent, Steve, and then an assistant. I was lucky enough to get what they called the foreman role, or the 3IC.
Yep.
And the thing is, in those days we had 26 staff. We had six people on the horticultural team, and we had 20 people on the ground staff for the golf course on an 18-hole golf course. So we still on the mowed fairways at that stage. It was next level sensational. So I had a great job. And we opened the golf course and the 2IC leaves. So he moved to Laguna Keys, and I got the assistant's role after that. And I had a fantastic time at Lakelands. That's where I really learned to put the 5%ers in place and grow high quality turf, because Steve Marsden was a perfectionist.
Very, very, very good greenkeeper. Absolutely, very good superintendent, and well regarded in the industry. And Lakelands today, I mean, we're talking 20-something years on from that time when it opened, is still one of the must-visit golf courses on the Gold Coast, along with Sanctuary Cove. Of course, we have to make sure that that's in the list. But it being a Nicholas course, it is a must. So that was a really big deal, being part of a grow-in of a big name design golf course. It's only the second one, I think, that we have. We only have 2 Nicholas courses in Australia, one in Victoria, I think, and one in on the Gold Coast. And that's a big deal to grow in a Nicholas course. Wow, what a name. And then to meet the guy, like you said, that's a pretty special box to be able to tick as well. I think that's what a wonderful lead into the senior management of a golf course. So Lakelands opens, and how long do you spend that time and jumping up to assistant and moving through at Lakelands before you step further along in your career?
So in 2000, so we had 2 children by then, and then we were looking at having a third. I just got Jackie getting up early in the morning, and I just didn't want to work weekends anymore. So I thought, I don't want to do it. I went and did some sales repping for a little fertiliser mob on the Gold Coast. They were called Northern Rivers Rural Buying. And they end up turning into the Simplot
okay.
business. So I did some sales repping for Simplot for probably a good 10 years, and a manager of mine from Lakelands moved to Royal Pines, and I was in there trying to sell him some fertilisers. So I flogged him off some fertilisers since I went to the dark side, and he said, "You don't want this job, do you? The superintendent's just leaving." And I went, "Oh, I suppose, why?" And he goes, "Well, I want someone I know what he's doing, and I know how to work with. And if you want the job, we'll work a package out and we'll give it to you." And same thing again. I went, "You know what? This is it. This is what I wanted to do when I was 16. A superintendent at a resort golf course on the Gold Coast." And I went, "Yeah." Well, I took it, went home and told the missus of changing jobs, and so I had a really good 6 years at Royal Pines as the superintendent. We had the ladies' masters there for a long time, and as you know, in those days in the early 2000s, it was like it was Kari Webb, it was Laura Davies, it was all the big guns that still had $1 million purse, that kind of stuff. So
we had the best of the best. We had the best of the best in the women's pros event, being held there. I mean, so that's a real big deal to become a super. That's your first super's role on a big 18-hole course, resort course. What was that like to know during that time? I've got, and I like to ask this question. You're the lead, leading a team of staff to prepare for one of the biggest women's tournaments in Australia, certainly. And some of those players' names you talked about, Laura Davies and Kari Webb, she won it a stack of times at Royal Pines, and Royal Pines is on the Gold Coast. We're still talking, so that's where you still are. What was that like? Sitting back during those times, no doubt, going, we've got this big tournament on. It's tournament prep. We've got the lead in for 6 months or whatever the planning levels are to get into that. What was that like to be able to manage a team and deliver that product? And you're on TV effectively. Your product's on television. What was that like?
Yeah, it was great, but it was also nerve-wracking. I started in the August, September, and then we had the ladies' masters always in February, March, and that was just a thrown in the deep end. But the thing was, at Lakelands, the Lakelands Golf Club was in tournament condition most days of the week.
Okay.
So I just had to match my programs from Lakelands that Steve Marsden had installed in me, attention to detail, and the rest was pretty easy, really. But then when the tournament rolled down, we had the Pro-Am on the Wednesday, and we got this massive storm, and it washed out every single bunker, and the Thursday was called off because it was washed out, basically. So
wow.
I put a text on. I know you don't know this, but I text all my contact list on my phone, and I knew a heap of supers from the repping days and some mates. And I said, I need a hand. This is what's happened. Bring a shovel and a rake with you to Royal Pines tomorrow morning at 5:30. I got 36 people turn up.
No way.
We pumped every bunker out, and Royal Pines had the worst bunkers in the world. They were just swimming pools, and so we pumped all the bunkers out, and when we shoveled all the sand back up and raked them from 5:30 to 5:30, had a barbie and a few beers, and we had our first round on the Friday. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's pulling everyone together like that, and knowing, and there is a great sense of camaraderie, isn't there, in the greenkeeping industry as well, especially with the help and within the industry for that volunteer help as well. But to put that call out on that short a notice, guys, drop everything, I need a hand, bring something, and we'll just let's get this done. Wow, what a turnaround.
Yeah, it was good. And then a couple of mates cooked the barbie because they were just Neville's had no idea. So they went, well, we'll just come along and help you cook the barbie and, drive around and try to help out where we can. And it did, and opened the next day. And then, I don't know, Friday, the Saturday, you've got, I forget who the commentators were. I think it was Wayne Grady and a couple other people, or one of the girls used to. Jane Crafter used to commentate on the telly, and the next minute they're saying, "Okay, were you available for an interview about what happened on Wednesday and Thursday?" And I'm like, "Hang on a minute, no, I just want to cut the grass." So it was it was thrown in the deep end. It was really good, really enjoyed it. It's great fun. So that was Royal Pines. I left there, and the funny thing is, and I've got my mates who listen to this will have a bit of a giggle. So then I went back. I went back repping again because the same thing. I said, I just want to do something different. And I had I did a stint with New Turf, which wasn't that long. Exactly the same thing happened. A guy I worked with at Royal Pines was the golf director. He managed to get the general manager's role at Century Cove.
Right.
And Robin Doodson left in 2013, and he was packing up to go overseas. I was his sales rep, and he said, I'm leaving, which I knew. And I went up to have a cup of coffee with the GM who I worked with at Royal Pines, Paul Sanders, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, you don't want a job, do you? I need to get somewhere in a hurry. I know what you like. I know you can present a golf course. What do you want to do? And I went, oh, yeah? Well, why not?
I love these massive roles. You've through a quite sounds like quite a casual conversation.
It was just over coffee. Both times it was just cups of coffee. So I was trying to sell these blokes fertilizer, not get jobs. So I've been very fortunate in my career. I have been placed at the right place at the right time, and I'm very fortunate for that. But on the same token, when you get the opportunity, you have to take it with both hands and go, right, I've got an opportunity now. I have to make the most of it. And you just work your ringer off and do as best you can. And then if you've got a good reputation, then you'll get another job. If you haven't got a good reputation, you won't.
Mate, and there's a couple of things, and from that point on, 2013 onwards, you're still at Sanctuary Cove, and we'll talk a little bit about that time as well. But I just wanted to mention a couple of things that I've heard and that spring up through your story a little bit. Is like you said, you work your backside off, and I suppose it's timing and being, people know what you've done. Like you said, it's your personal reputation, and it's through some of the contacts that you've known. I mean, you've gone from trying to sell people something to them offering you a job, which is a pretty good turnaround in the middle of a conversation. But it's interesting that you've gone away. And I spoke to just recently Dave Rogers, the superintendent at Bathurst Golf Club, in the last Keeper of the Green segment. And he did something similar throughout his career, which I find really interesting about greenkeeping, that probably some people don't realise is something that's a little bit different to other industries, where you can walk away for a period of time and get a break or get a change, or your life might change a little bit with family and so on, and then you come back. You get an opportunity to come back, and you sort of jump back in the saddle, and you don't really need to, retrain yourself with new tech or whatever it might be, because it's the fundamentals are kind of still really there. It's all about presenting a surface, and it's sports turf. It's a great thing that we're afforded from time to time. So you're at Sanctuary Cove now, and you've been there for 7 years. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
What's the journey for you been like at Sanctuary Cove? What's that been? 36-hole facility, big deal, 2 courses.
Yeah, I think the first thing that slapped in the face was, it's 36 holes. There's a lot of staff. We've got 27 staff. We've got 800 members, and it's a very busy facility. So it's busy all the time. The driving range is busy. The restaurants are busy. The club does well. So it's not you are always busy. The other hard part about it is the expectation of the member is probably one of the hardest things you have to manage out there. Is they expect the best all the time, and they don't understand that it rained. They don't care that it's a public holiday. They don't care. They just want the best all the time. So a great place to work, but a tough place to work as far as members' expectations are concerned.
Yeah, and you've got to manage then your staff on top of the expectation of the members as well, because it's not just you, is it? You're leading that big team, that enormous staff-numbered team, to maintain the level that the members want, and it's pulling everyone together to row in the same direction.
Oh, exactly, Steve. It's it's the hardest part is the management of the staff. The easy part is growing the grass.
Yep, and I hear that regularly, and I think that's it's a big team, and Mother Nature. I think whether you get time, I get time now that I'm not in the game myself anymore, but to reflect on that component that you have no control over, Mother Nature, is just she'll love you or leave you and leave you wanting, really, and that's another difficult part to do. But impressive stuff, and a little bit about Sanctuary Cove, mate. Tell us a little bit about it, because I do know one of the courses there, the Pines, is the only Arnold Palmer design golf course in Australia, which is a pretty big deal as well. Tell us a bit about Sanctuary Cove. What is it?
Sanctuary Cove, so it's an integrated community, like the old, very American style. It's got security gates. It's a closed community. It's got 36 holes. So we've got we have a Ross Watson design golf course in the Palms. It's 12 years since it's been developed. And then we have the Arnold Palmer, the Pines golf course, which is the only Arnold Palmer facility in Australia, which is pretty special. We are almost to the point now where it'll be a closed off membership, which is really cool. But still, as I was mentioning earlier, still very busy. So the members really do enjoy their facility. So we've also got your standard country club style of facilities. So we've got the swimming pool and the tennis courts, and we've got the gym, etc. But the focus is the two golf courses.
Yeah, wow, and like you said, it's I think a really, I love, and I'm fascinated with different designs and different styles and architects, and to have that the only golf course in the country with a Palmer signature design golf course is certainly very special, and I'm sure the members love. And they are quite different, the Ross Watson and the Palmer design course, for obvious reasons. They're two different styles, and it's great to have that different option as well for members and their guests to enjoy two different types of golf courses as well. Mate, tell us a bit about your surfaces. What are your green surfaces? You've got Cooch up that neck of the woods, and you've recently done a big amount of work on the Pines golf course with the greens. Well, tell us a bit about your surface types, what type of Cooch you have there, and the way that delivers to people's golf experience.
We have, so on both courses, we've got Tiff Eagle surfaces on the greens, and both courses basically have the same. They've got wintergreen fairways, tees, and aprons, etc. And most of the rough on both sides, it will be just Greenleys Park. That was a pretty standard selection of grass on the Gold Coast and in Queensland through when those courses were getting built in the 80s and now with the 90s.
Yep.
We've recently spent some big bucks on the Pines. We put a new irrigation system in, going on just on 2 years ago with a full Toro system. From every single head was replaced, a full new system from start to finish. And then we finished that and then moved into the greens replacement program. So we replaced 18 greens in 10 weeks, and then grew them in and opened in the July. So we started in 1st of January or 2nd of January, straight after of the new year, and then we opened in July. So that was hectic, but it was good fun. I learned a lot, and the surfaces have come up really nice.
That's incredible. A 6-month turnaround to go from day one digging up to putting on high quality Tiff Eagle. Is that right? Tiff Eagle putting surface.
Yeah.
Is just a hell of a turnaround. And like you said, the challenge is there, a great lot of fun. And at the end of it, you can breathe out again and say, we did it. And look at what we've been able to achieve. That's a great improvement to the golf course as well. And the irrigation system for the golfers listening, because that's a key part to the podcast, is the golfers' experience with those surfaces and the like. But just for interest's sake, and I like to hear these numbers from time to time, if you know it off the top of your head, you talked about redoing a full irrigation system. How many, on 18 holes, how many sprinklers does that entail, roughly?
It's over 1,000 of them, so it's probably close to 1,100 sprinklers.
1,100 individual sprinklers on an 18-hole golf course. That's That's what it takes to put in a high-end irrigation system to, and as I say, to even out the humps and hollows of Mother Nature so you can deliver a consistent product. It is a big exercise, and it's a great deal of cash, like you said, but the investment in that infrastructure delivers what you have there. And that's an incredible facility overall, the 36 holes that is Sanctuary Cove, mate. It's fantastic. And I was fortunate enough earlier in the year when we could travel around that you were kind enough to give me some of your time and show me those new green surfaces when they were growing in, and they did look fantastic. You were trying, from memory, was there some zoysia trials around the collars of the greens?
So what we did, we installed a zoysia buffer between the we'll call it green cooch because most of the green cooches are the same, which is the fairway apron rough grass.
Yep.
We put a 1.2 metre buffer between that and the Tiff Eagle. Now, the idea of that is to prevent or slow down the encroachment of the common cooch into the Tiff Eagle. Even though the zoysia still, it still moves and still creeps a little bit, it's not near as aggressive as the cooch is. So the biggest problem we have on keeping greens clean in Queensland is encroachment. You get small patches, or you just get they just keep coming in and in and in. So I did some trials before we started the greens project. We worked out that we put a buffer zone in there and it could hold them off a little bit for a few years, and we'll just replace the zoysia with some more zoysia, cut the cooch out and do it all again in 3 or 4 years' time. But that's the idea. We're creating a buffer zone between the wintergreen or the common cooch and the Tiff Eagle hybrid cooch.
Yeah, wow. Okay, that's an interesting choice and way of doing it. I don't think I've heard anything quite like that. But again, I don't know the Gold Coast. So really interesting to hear those different grass types in there. And for players to understand, I mean, as greenkeepers, we go, okay, that grass is not what we want on the green, so we've got to keep it out. If it does, as the common cooch does creep in the old method when you had them butt up against each other, what does that do as it creeps in? You have grain issues, don't you? You've got different growth rates and the way that the ball putts across the two different grass types, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like one's like cutting on a nice artificial turf, mini putt. The other one's like putting on shagpole carpet. So there is no comparison. The problem is that the only thing that kills cooch in cooch is Roundup. So you have to get rid of it with Roundup, and then you have to replace it with your greens grade grass, which is really hard to maintain. So the idea of you can use any other grass as your buffer, doesn't really matter. But in Queensland, subtropical conditions, zoysia does really well in the hot, humid weather. We've chosen that. Since you've been up there, mate, we've had a mini reno in the last month, and we're now cutting our collars at 8 mil with a walk mower, which is with the zoysia carpet. It is really nice. It's unbelievable.
That's fantastic. And for that little bit when you're on that just off the edge of the green, to be able to just putt in that transition step, it's not a big deal. There's a nice smooth transition from one to the other, and from a playing perspective, all those consistencies make a big difference in the experience of a golfer. So we love to see that, and these are the things that greenkeepers and superintendents, you've got to come up with these methods to make it work for you to deliver the experience and the product. And I keep banging on about this with my way of commentating in the podcast, because at the end of the day, it's the only reason we're doing it is for the player. So to give them the best experience we can. And that's what we're here to serve. As greenkeepers, that's what we're here to do, is to provide the best experience for that golf course that we maintain. And I think what you're doing, mate, is incredible. And those improvements as the years go on is really showing where you stand in the stature of courses around the Gold Coast. And it's certainly at the top of the tree. So great stuff, mate. I love hearing about it, and certainly being able to tell golfing public when they get the opportunity to play and experience the different places. It's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, I want to talk a little bit about, let's talk about some of the nice feels about Sanctuary Cove. What's a really good part about the golf course that a bit of a quiet time, whether it be on a Saturday morning, doing a spot of hand watering or just checking out the golf course? Is there somewhere out there that that you just go, this is such a really beautiful spot, or it's a really nice picture, it's tranquil, it's a beautiful scene? What's one of the spots out there as a golfer that they might miss sometimes, they really should get a chance to see when they're out there playing around a golf?
We've got a fair bit of water on the Pines, and we've got, as you know, it is called the Pines for a very good reason, because it's a pine forest. And some of the areas in there, when you're out, let's say you come in on a Saturday morning or a public holiday to cut greens, and one of my favourite things to do as a greenkeeper forever is to cut a heavily dewy green, and a nice straight line, and you got a little bit of clip in the bucket, and you really, that's a really nice spot. You combine that for me on the Pines with a backdrop of pine trees that are very tall with beautiful green grass, and all you can hear is some birds singing. You could be anywhere in the world. So if I wanted to find a place where I just get away and like just forget everything, I'll just jump on the Greensmart in the morning, go out there. I'm out there at 5:30, and you're mowing a nice clean green with a heavy dew on it. That's about as good as it gets for me.
It's you're right, mate, and it is really. The Pines, and I suppose I don't think we're doing an injustice not talking about the Palms so much, but the Pines that pine forest is really quite unique as well for the Gold Coast. You are taken away from the general feel of that popular, enjoyable, entertaining, beachy, Gold Coast with that pine forest, and that light I've seen in some photos of that dawn sunlight breaking through those pines across the fairways is such a beautiful look. And just hearing you talk about it is absolutely sensational. It just builds such a nice picture. I can just see myself out there already. I've never played it, but I can see myself out there already.
Well, it's next level. And I just saw you talk about the Palms. Palms is a brand new golf course, and it's a championship designed golf course by Ross Watson. It's a very challenging. It's a great course, and out of the two, they're both very extremely different, but they've both got their qualities. If I wanted to go across the Palms, there's a few areas that give you that real resort green grass, white sand, palm trees, that kind of stuff, and you feel like you're in Hawaii. When you go to the Pines, you feel like you're in in Middle America somewhere with all the pine trees. So it's very different. But both places, if I was mowing a green on either golf course, I can find some nice places to go. Wow, I've got a really good job. I'm a very lucky human to be here looking after this, and I really appreciate it.
Mate, it's absolutely right, and I've got no doubt. It's hearing your voice is quite humbling. That's you appreciate where you are and are able to enjoy it and soak it all up every day. And I think that's the other thing I pick up on a lot of superintendents is, and I know I felt the same, and I was lucky to do it in the Blue Mountains in a beautiful scenic part of Australia as well, that you do reflect every now and then and just think how lucky you are to be in some of those spots. And it's fantastic to be able to look after a beautiful landscape at the same time and get paid to do it. Mate, let's there is one thing that you were kind enough to show me when I was up there earlier this year, and you took me around, and it's a really unique feature to any golf course. You've got quite an impressive sculpture outside the golf course. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a bit about the story behind it.
We've got a size sculpture of like a brass sculpture of Arnold Palmer next to our putting greens on the way to the first tee. Our former president, Mick McDonald, who had a couple of tenures and was instrumental in getting the greens project started and completed. He was a very can-do kind of president. He was a guy that said, well, stuff it, let's just get it done. He was a great leader in that time, and he wanted a legacy to leave with. And he's a Queenslander. He'd been up to Lang Park a number of times. Statues of Artie Beetson and Alfie Langer and Wally Lewis at the front of Lang Park, and he said, I want one of them. So he contacted I forget what they call people who a guy to commission to build a statue of Arnold Palmer. So it took him probably 12 months to get it all completed.
12 months?
Yeah, so they build it 2 or 3 times. So they do it out of clay first as like a practice run, and they actually carve it out of out of the brass. I'm sure it's brass. It's expensive, and it's probably a year's wages for most people. The cost of the sculpture, and it's amazing. And Mick wanted a legacy. He didn't want to be a song and dance about it. There's a small plaque underneath it that says that Mick donated it, but he didn't want a song and dance about it. It's a way of saying welcome to the Pines or welcome to Century Cove, and play. Arnie apparently used to say play through or play on, and that's what he's achieved, and it's amazing.
Mate, it really is one of those, and to obviously the King, Arnold Palmer, and you talked about the statues outside Lane Park, and we're talking about the greats of Australian rugby league here, and Wally Lewis and Arthur Beetson and the like. Those bronze statues out there, or brass, whatever the metal is, I'm not certain, but they are beautiful looking statues, and everyone knows them in the rugby league world. Any fan of rugby league has seen them on television or seen them in situ at the stadium. To have that as the king again in golf, being Arnold Palmer at his golf course at Sanctuary Cove, you got this beautiful looking life size. It's all the right. It's to scale. It's such a magnificent part.
To scale,
It really is a beautiful thing. That's an addition and another unique part of Sanctuary Cove. And like I said, I wanted you to tell that story because I think it's quite fascinating. And if you see it, it's one of those things you just got to get a photo of. It's magnificent, is what it is.
Oh, it is, and it is like not eerie, but when you first see it, and again in the morning, and you're going out there to cut greens, and it's like he's staring at you when you drive past, and you're like, oftentimes you go, oh wow, that was ridiculous. Was he just looking at me? And you drive past the statue, and every time it's so realistic. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, he's just looking over his course, and exactly. I think it's a beautiful touch to Sanctuary Cove, mate. One of the things I'm curious to pick your brains about as we sort of go into a little bit more of talking about the future, I suppose. I want to know a little bit of your opinion of something that I often talk to people about, a lot of golfers about, is presentation of golf courses. And the Super 7 questions touched a little bit on that. I'm curious to know what your opinion is of how the presentation of golf courses have changed throughout your career. Because I think, and just commentating, I suppose, in general, that the average, public access council-run golf course are now delivering levels of presentation that, I mean, you can go and play on a golf course for $25 a round in some places and go, you know what? I remember this when I used to be a member of a golf course paying $300 or $400. And the levels are always stepping up. We see it on TV. People are sort of expecting that at some of our local member-based courses. How do you sort of reflect and think about and talk about how presentation has changed throughout your career?
The equipment's better for starters. So you've got better equipment to cut the grass with rather than the old Howard roller slasher in 1986 at Wentworth Golf Club. They've got fancy 4700 buddy mowers to cut rough with that, do twice as much ground in half the time. And then you've got fairway greens and all the different mowers that are cutting a lot better quality. But where it's changed is that the expectation of the golfer now, because we all watch it on telly, used to have to get up early hours of the morning to watch it on one channel when you watch the Masters. And if you didn't watch it, you had to tape it on the old VHS. Just now you can watch it on any channel. You watch it on free to air, doesn't really matter. And the golfer expects that all the time now. So every golf club you go to, whether it's in the country or wherever, everyone's trying to get the perfect playing surface and the perfect looking grass and fairway and tee and all the rest of it. Bunkers have to be raked every day, and they want a better lie in the bunker than they do on the fairway, because that's what they see on telly. So it's probably technology's changed the way we present golf course, and that goes with the TV and the technology and the machinery that we use.
Do you find, and you've worked in cold climate, you've worked in warm climate, you've worked in regional country small clubs, you've worked in regional country 9-hole clubs with, a good volunteer base, no doubt. And now you're in resort in Queensland. You've experienced a lot of different types of golf course maintenance. Do you think there's a place, and I won't lie, I do bang on a lot about people traveling, and I like to tell people that they need to experience country golf, smaller, lesser quality golf, to appreciate all the different types of golf and also improve their game. Do you think, is that, something that you, coming from that start at Wentworth and moving to where you are now, what are your thoughts on people experiencing different levels of golf course presentation?
They've got to do it because so many people who are born and bred in either the city or maybe into a resort style of golf atmosphere is that they only know one thing. They only know what the golf course they've played on. They don't go anywhere else. And for whatever reason, on a Saturday morning, the greens weren't as good as they were last week. They're very critical, where we used to go to places like Cowra and obviously Bathurst and Lithgow and that. Cowra had some of the best greens around anywhere. But sometimes during the year when it was hot and dry, they might not have had any fairway grass. They would have had preferred lies through the green, but the greens were next level good.
Yep.
So where in Queensland and in Sydney and Melbourne, they expect every surface to be good every day of the week. If they just went outside their comfort zone a bit and play some country golf courses, they'd understand that it's volunteers, it's people getting out of bed to mow greens on a Saturday morning. They don't do it for a living. And chook runs on a Friday afternoon, where you go to places like Moree and Gundawindi and Tenterfield. Tenterfield's some of the best greens you've ever seen. Tenterfield and Glen Innes. They have one staff member.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to wrap your head around when you've worked on quite. I know we had 6 when I was at the peak at Katoomba, and that's not a great deal of staff. And that's only 18 holes. But when you go to courses, they've got 1 or 2 people maintaining 18 holes. That's a feat.
Oh, unbelievable. So I think to answer your question, that we're all very spoilt now. And I think if people can just pack up and go out and take their clubs out to a little place, and you don't have to travel far, and go and pay your $15 green fee, because that's all it's going to be.
Yeah.
And just go and enjoy a nice game of golf on different conditions. You'll have a great time.
I think I agree with you, mate. I think there's great golf out there to be had, because and even it's a bit like I always talk about car analogies. It's a bit like cars, when the Mercedes and BMWs of the world come out with all the tech and the gadgets, eventually it filters down to the cheaper, family sized cars in 10 years time. And we're seeing that with equipment and practices that now the country golf courses are getting better and better, and they're slowly improving. So they're still able to deliver a pretty good, certainly when it comes to the greens, like you said, at Cowra and the like. And I know those courses, they deliver great putting surfaces, and they deal with Mother Nature the best they can in between.
Oh, absolutely, mate. There's some really good surfaces out around those country areas, and it's not just country New South Wales. In country Queensland has some fantastic little courses that have got really good surfaces. Go out to Kingaroy and you go to Bundaberg, and Harvey Bay is one of the nicest little tracks you're going to see. You get a Bribie Island Golf Club, which is just a Bribie Island Golf Club, not a resort or anything. They have one of the best golf courses in Queensland.
Mate, it is, and there's no reason not to travel at the moment. We can't really do a lot overseas, and I think people get a great deal of satisfaction. And I've had a few friends now through the podcast that I've chatted to, and they're traveling around the country playing all manner of different courses and absolutely loving, with in an equal amount, those regional rural courses that be in regional Victoria, South Australia. You talk about the Warburtons of the world, the Mount Lawleys in SA. It's just there's some wonderful experiences to be had, and I think it's fantastic, along with the chance to play the Sanctuary Coves of the world. And there's some great things in there.
Yep,
mate.
Exactly.
Paul, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the podcast, mate. I've been really excited. I will say this: you kind of did get dobbed in a little bit. I shouldn't. Phil Hill from Barn Bugle kind of said to me, Steve, you need to chat to Paul Macker up from Sanctuary Cove and get him on. I think you'll have a good time chatting to him, mate. And it's been fantastic. So, mate, I appreciate you spending time to chat. with the keeper of the greens and on the podcast, mate. And it's great to get an insight into your journey of greenkeeping and becoming a superintendent, and also hearing about some of those courses you've worked on, starting in Wentworth and coming all the way through to Sanctuary Cove and the resort worlds on the Gold Coast, mate. It's been fantastic, and I really appreciate your time, and great to hear your story along the way.
Mate, my pleasure, Steve, anytime. And one thing I will say, that I'm a very lucky man to be where I am now. And you make your own choices and you work hard, and you just do the 5%ers. That's all you need to do. And if you can keep going and be honest with yourself like that, I think everyone will succeed in what they want to do. You've got to have a goal. My goal was to move up here and do what I'm doing now, and achieve it. And keep working hard, and you'll be fine. There's a heap of sayings about people who work hard that, they don't need luck because they're working hard. That's exactly right. I'm very lucky to be where I am, and I've enjoyed the journey, and mate, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely, Paul, mate. Wonderful, wise words, and a great point to finish on. Thank you again, Paul, and we'll look forward to catching up again soon.
Awesome, Steve. Thanks, mate.
How good was that conversation? Fantastic. I really had a great time chatting away with Superintendent Paul McLean from Sanctuary Cove, and I hope you enjoyed listening. It really was a very, very enjoyable chat, and what a story. I love that he's come from humble beginnings in regional New South Wales and had that real drive early on as a young bloke, wanting to be on the Gold Coast, looking after a resort golf course and being superintendent of one, and now he's just at the peak of it. What a great story, and a very humble guy. You could hear in his voice just how much he feels that he's a lucky person, but he's also worked extremely hard to get to where he is, and people in the industry respect that. And a lot of people know Paul, a lot of people know of his work and the work that he's done to get to where he is today. And like I said, I think you really got a sense of who he is as a bloke, and really down-to-earth guy as well, and a very humble man. So, look, if you get the opportunity to get up there and have a chance to play at either of the courses at Sanctuary Cove, you will enjoy yourself immensely. They are great golf courses, either of the two to play, and if you get the lucky chance to play at the Pines, you will no doubt enjoy something very, very special, being the only Arnold Palmer designed golf course in Australia. So fantastic. Thank you again to Paul. And look, don't forget, there are going to be a couple of links in the show notes to this one of Sanctuary Cove and Paul McLean. And also, thank you to our partners again in Australian Turf Analysis for bringing to you Keeper of the Greens segment. And until next time, guys, until next week, we'll have some more for you coming from me, from the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you then. You hit him clean, we'll keep him green. That's the catch cry I'll come out with. And I look forward to talking to you next week.